What's up, hoops? I just yell, "What's up, hoops?" This is the basketball podcast about all things basketball, the basketball things that you might not even know about. The amateurs, the pros, the semi-pros, the one-on-one people. Not just everything NBA that you might be familiar with, but kind of the weird stuff too. That's what we like to focus on.
Yeah, we love
What's
the
up,
weird. We
Brendon?
love the weird stuff. What's up, Max? Excited for today. A lot of fun topics, and the one-on-one stuff is
Yeah,
making its
we'll get to.
rounds. It's
We'll do
making
that
its
in a.
rounds.
We'll do that in a second. I don't want to start off on that one yet because I think that's a bigger narrative. I sent you a video on Instagram about the decentralization of attention.
That's right.
And everything we talk about on this platform essentially comes from that. The fact that we can watch these random one on one games, or I don't care, someone's highlights in a minute. Like, I'll be on TikTok and like someone's highlights on a men's league will come up, and every now and then they'll have like a million views. And it's just because there's this no single entity that's necessarily putting out the information that you can possibly consume. Like, just think about, man, we were in middle school at 6:50, top 10 plays would come on in the morning on ESPN, 6:50 a.m. So I make sure I wake up at like 6:30, get my honey bunch of votes. So I was in front of the TV by 6:50. I catch the end of ESPN to see the top 10 plays and the beginning for 15 minutes because that's where like kind of the main events are covered. Now it's just there is no harbinger of all information. We all have it. And so you'll see actually ESPN reporting on things that a content creator will make, or you'll see those major networks reporting on that stuff. When in the previous days, they would send people out to go capture it. Like, I remember there's Grinnell basketball was once on TV. Grinnell being like the people who shoot all those threes, and ESPN put them on TV. Nowadays, you could just watch Grinnell basketball on whatever form, and then ESPN could tether off of that and be like, can we use your content? Can we talk about this? And so on. I was so much to the point, not to just talk over this whole initial beginning, but Jack, I forgot his name, the guy who scored 154 points, whatever it was, 56 points. He was playing basketball the same time I was playing basketball. I go to Coe College, which is in Iowa. Grinnell's in Iowa. We got off a game. They had just finished it, and I remember Kevin Durant retweeting it. And that was like, oh, wow, he scored all these points. But it was reported by Kevin Durant because Grinnell put the highlights out, which then ESPN picked up the next day and showcased. So like that was the very beginning of like this, oh, we can make content that can go through, the lens of the major distributor. Now we've been around so long that you can become the distributor yourself. Like you on a YouTube page, on social media, TikTok, Instagram, X, and whatever platforms exist, streaming now and everything, you become the distributor way more than ever before. So we have this decentralization. You talked about that, send you this message, and I don't know this, so tell me about it, that you said this is happening in golf. The
Yeah.
decentralization of attention driving leagues or competition in golf. So what's happening in golf? Because I'm not aware of this.
There's just been an absolute explosion in these amateur channels and YouTube golf in specific. Kind of started with this group of kids called Good Good. Um, just a group of 4 or 5 kids who are all honestly all very good at golf, all at least scratch, a couple plus handicap guys, um, led by I think this guy's name is Garrett Clark, and then Grant Horvat, who I think is kind of right now the king of social media golf. But it's gotten to the point now where the PGA has been doing collaborative events with these guys because I think to your earlier point there, the kind of major distributors are looking for ways to connect with the audience, and the audience has found different platforms to tie to. Golf in specific has gone nuclear on social media, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and there's a bunch of different kind of subsections within it. You can watch some golfers that are strictly there to teach you how to get better. Here's how you can adjust your swing. Here's how you can do this and that. You have other guys that do tournament style things like, hey, we have these group of guys playing these group of guys. We'll do a Ryder Cup style tournament, but it's all kind of mimicking major competitive golf. And I think those videos, those pieces of content have resonated a lot, especially with the explosion of golf since COVID. I think that has a huge element of this. But decentralizing the content from, if you're watching golf, you were really just on the Golf Channel, NBC Sports, whatever PGA tournament was going on that weekend. That's where you would kind of get your fix. Where now you have guys like Bob Does Sports They post, weekly content. They're incredible, funny guys. Barstool has a ton of different golf related content. Good still doing their thing. Grant Horvat doing his thing. To the point where I think those creators are almost just as popular as even the main attractions in professional golf. I think they all also do collaborations with people like Bryson DeChambeau, Rory McIlroy, and these pro golfers are, I think, seeing the opportunity that these amateurs have created, and now they're tethering to it in the same way ESPN kind of tethered back to Grinnell, and even like things like what's the shot making YouTube channel.
Oh, Dude Perfect.
Things like that. Yeah, Dude Perfect would make its way onto ESPN every now and then, where now those, I think those platforms are kind of the ones driving all the attention,
Well,
and ESPN and the PGA are now kind of reaching to grab onto the relevance that they've created.
is
So it's
it
been fascinating to watch, especially in the golf world.
is it because remember when we used to I don't know, 15 years ago? I just picked about this, thought about this the other day because I was on Samsung TV and like whatever generic channels they give you. And I've always been so intrigued how there's 250 active channels. And some of them are like up to date events. And I'm like, who's paying
watching
for
this?
who's paying for this? Like
Yeah.
the sponsors. And one of them was a strongman one. And we used to watch strongman stuff in the morning. I remember you probably did. A kid would come up and I would see it. But ESPN would carry like these kind of obtuse off-hour events. You'd have like Major League Mini Golf, and you would have bowling, which is not obtuse, but it'd be Sunday morning. Would have bowling, PBA. You'd have strongman. You'd have remember that the lumberjack competitions
Oh yeah,
where they
where
would
you'd
cut stuff.
climb, you'd literally climb or you cut. Yeah, the limit. I mean,
Yeah,
this
and
is
it
all
just
kind of in the vein of ESPN 8 the Ocho type of gags. But
but
yeah,
this was before, but that ESPN the 8 the Ocho made fun of that,
yeah,
right? Because that's
exactly,
what they did. It was
exactly.
like ESPN Wide World of Sport, maybe they called it. I'm not sure if that's what it was. And they would like they had the log running where you'd be in the logs, they'd run, and I remember loving that. Partially
Hmm.
arm wrestling would be on there, partially because it was unique, and partially because the excitement of the people announcing it. And I think when we get into decentralized attention, people who are covering something that is their own, they're innately excited about. It is electric to listen to someone care about something because they are announcing it. They're like, this guy has been chopping down trees since look at the arms on him. And he practices on a perfectly smooth log when he does his log running. And it's like the randomness. And next thing you know, like when people care about stuff, you care too. I was watching on Samsung TV, they have the Antique Roadshow. And on there, those
Hmm.
people just love whatever that is. And I don't know what it is, but you can feel the passion of it.
That's
And
what it
now,
is. The passion. Yeah.
and now when I watch a lot of sports, it's a lot of it seems to be curated through a means of everybody. Because like the larger you get, the less rough and edgy it can become because you start to just, produce for the averages. So with decentralization of attention, you start to have the roughness come back, but the excitement around it. Like some guy who's no one's going to go make a video about amateur flag football unless they care about amateur flag football. And when these worlds collide, which I hope they do in the next 6 years, I'm hosting a basketball tournament, cash prize adult basketball tournament. I've seen the electricity at these other tournaments. If we start to get to a point where we start to have scouts come to a game, like for a semi-pro team or like low level, if one of these guys makes it somewhere else, that adds so much excitement to it. And I think in the same way, like when Skip to My Lou made it to the NBA, or is it He Hate Me? Is he the one from the XFL who played in the
Yeah.
NFL?
The
Right.
greatest nickname of all time. Yeah.
Yeah. It adds something to it. And the key though is to never leave that decentralized attention because then you control the excitement around it. I think a lot of people make stuff in an attempt for it to go and leave elsewhere. Nowadays,
Hmm.
because you're not selling upward, you have ESPN and people siphoning off of you. You're lateral to them, which will hopefully
Right.
keep a lot of this very pure. And brands will gravitate to those individuals to support it because the reality is like operating a cash tournament isn't horribly expensive, to be honest with you. People are paying to be a part of it. But if it gets notoriety and visibility, people are paying to be a part of it and it's drawing attention. Like this is a win-win-win, right? Because now people want to be a part of it. They can be seen on it and they can possibly be recruited. You can add some excitement to it. I think there is an untapped market of semi-pro amateurism in the U.S. that has been just tossed to the wayside because the reality is majority of fans, all the fans are amateurs, right? We all watch the pros wanting to be like them, yet there is no market for the amateur to actually express themselves like a pro.
Yeah, but I do think it has been tossed to the side, I think, maybe in the past, but I think the major players are starting to pick up on it a little bit more. And to your point about having, scouts there, people can actually turn. Let's take Iowa's most famous basketball tournament as an example. If that does start happening,
Just a low,
meaning scouts coming,
I know,
any type,
I
and you
know of a
have real
team
players.
a guy who's put a team in who runs a semi-pro team.
Yeah,
That's
no,
he might
and
be
I think
scouting. You know what I mean? Like that's actually
no,
pretty cool.
exactly.
TBL or ABA, these other
Yeah.
teams.
And it lends some legitimacy to what you're watching. So, you'll have the passion of the amateur creation of it, where it's strictly just, I love this and I want to put this on whatever platform and just show people why this is so cool. But then having legitimate talent there too helps, obviously. And to go back to my golf example, the channels that you see that do really well, Bob does Sports Aside, they're a little bit unique because they're hilarious and provide a different type of entertainment. But the other channels that do great are from these scratch level golfers where they are amateurs. They are, but they're good in a way where it's still entertaining. And I think that's kind of what I think we're going to see with Iowa's most famous basketball tournament. Is we're going to see the passion that we get from an amateur ran type of program or tournament, and then you're going to see, whoa, there's some legitimate talent here. There's some good players, and it's entertaining. And that obviously just builds on, I think, the type of enthusiasm you get from the amateur putting it on.
Is it possible in the next 4 years in a local market, amateur sports could be more viewed than the professional team in that area or engaged with? And what I mean by that, take a small town, Iowa, here, Bettendorf, or
Bettendorf,
this
yeah.
Quad Cities. I think it's 500,000 people, right? We have no professional team. It's the Bears, Minnesota, Kansas City. Is it, if a league is created that supports that ecosystem, could it be more engaged with? Because I would argue right now, Iowa basketball is more engaged with than any professional sports setting, right? So a collegiate team is already outmanned these three professionals. I'm willing to bet if the Iowa women's basketball team just went and played a game here, it would draw like an absurd number of people. Okay, so is it possible that amateurism in certain areas could at least compete within the 50% threshold of that, of the professionalism? Because right now it's 0 and then 100% professional. Like how much real estate could amateurism pick up, especially if it was supported by the local community? Like you have businesses putting teams in or people from the community who are playing in it. I don't know. I think there's a lot more prospect here than people give credit for with the decentralization of attention, because it's obviously be like, oh, no way, no one would view it, but no one's showing it. So who knows? You know what I mean? Like there was
Kind of
never
a
an
build it and
opportunity.
they'll come type of scenario here. Well, I think there's definitely some market share there for amateurs. I would be very willing to bet. Like you look at the Savannah Bananas and how ridiculous
Yeah,
that
that's a
whole thing
great
is.
one.
And I think they average around 500,000 like streamed views. And
Sell out. And
they'll sell out an entire venue.
and you
And
don't need
they're not
500,000. Imagine 3,000 people coming out to a basketball game
yeah.
in a gym. Do you know how packed that is and how loud that gym
Yeah.
gets? Like
And I also would
it's gonna be
imagine
fun to watch.
you're not probably not going to be directly competing with a professional league. If you were to get this syndicated on whatever network, I don't think they're going to put you up against,
No,
the Cubs White Sox game at the same time while using baseball as an example. So I think there's definitely some room there for some market share. And we are starting to see it, I think, and it's in this decentralized world. It's so fascinating to see what picks up steam, what picks up actual viewership, and what the audiences are kind of asking for. I know
Let's
the
talk
NBA
about it.
is
Let's talk about it.
the
Mano a
NBA
mano.
is
It's going right into it. You know where you're
it
going.
is. It is. And, I think the NBA and basketball in general is in a very interesting position. Um, these one-on-one kind of matchups have been taking over social media. Um, and it's highly dramatic, it's highly intense, and the passion is seeping through there. Now, I think there's gonna need to be some tweaks, especially to the one-on-one games, because they're not exactly fun to watch, if I'm being totally honest. Like it's a pretty brutal watch. You're really just watching to see who's gonna win, who gets the bragging rights. But it's been interesting to see what basketball fans are kind of reaching for and grabbing onto, because this one-on-one craze is
So is this the
has
melding
been
of worlds?
interesting.
Right. So there's always been this one-on-one stuff in Ballo's life in the next chapter. And it always, whenever you do anything that is semi-professional, I would call that maybe professional, you're always going to compare it to the best. It's just what people do. And what they're doing is they're getting people who were pros at some level. Ty Lawson, a very successful pro. Uh, Quinterly, I'm not sure how long he played for.
No, but that's a
Um,
Division One guy he's a legitimately good hooper, like a
yeah,
good
and
player.
but he played. Then he played Lamar Peters, who also is a D1 player.
Yeah.
Lamar Peters played at
Yeah. The line gets a
Auburn.
little blurry
Like he
right
played
now
at Auburn,
on
so
who's
it's like we're
amateur
just
is not.
watching
Yeah.
two D1 guys play.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like
Two
okay,
like
I'm not.
legitimately great basketball players. Like what? Yeah.
Yeah, isn't Lamar Peters really famous for having like that really tween crossover
Hmm.
and like the top of the key move? I think that was him. Um,
That insane combination in that. Yeah.
yeah,
Where.
very famous video.
Yeah.
But point is, people gravitate towards this one-on-one thing, and it's very easy to digest. It's single event. There's no need to follow up. There's no storyline to it in terms of like I had to follow this team for a year. And it's like you can build it up in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, especially with the highlights, um, all this stuff. Now, what's interesting in regards to the basketball world is that, like I said, we have Ty Lawson playing in it, and everyone basketball is delusional, right? So people will watch this, and a lot of people feel the way that the one-on-one players feel, and that they feel like they're the flag bearer for them that they could play in the NBA. Like, oh, see that one-on-one dude getting buckets? Like these dudes in the league are not that nice, and they went and
Hmm.
played someone once before, and they're like, see, I got some buckets, and they see him score. And then they're thinking, yeah, see, there's levels to this, and the best hoopers aren't the ones in the NBA. And then that pisses off the entire professional realm. And then you
And
have
rightly
like,
so.
yeah, and so it's a perfect content creation, right? So like every
Yeah.
professional hooper, I mean, I'm willing to bet 90% of the NBA has heard that Ty Lawson basketball game where he lost. I bet you it's a pretty high. Anybody who's on social media in the NBA has probably seen it.
Oh
Is that
yeah.
fair?
I think that's fair. I think all the NBA guys are pretty plugged into that.
And then, and so in that regard, like you have the melding of the two worlds, and you have now an opportunity that gets really tricky where it's like you're trying to balance it because you can't just bring in like Kevin Durant to beat everyone by 100 points. But you now have Ty Lawson lose, and it's just like this great Jake Paul set the seed to this.
told Jake Paul is such a great
He
comparison
like
to
went
this.
and just started beating guys here like Tyron Woodley at the end of his career, and everyone's like, "Look
Yeah,
on
guys that are
stage."
well past their primes. Like,
And so
we grew up watching Ty Lawson. Like, of course
yeah, he's in my
he's over the
2K11, and
hill.
he can dunk in
Yeah,
2K11 for some
yeah.
reason really well. He like catches alley oops, hilarious. So it's like some mistake in the game, but tons of bounce, and he was great. Right, national champ Sean May, right? Wasn't that his running?
Incredible North Carolina team. Yeah, incredible
Oh
UNC team.
gosh, but like it's
But
such
yeah,
a.
like I like here's the
He's
thing.
40 years old.
That's the thing.
He's 40.
Do you think 22-year-old Ty Lawson is losing that one-on-one game? Hell no.
No, he's not.
No. No shot.
You're 40 years
So,
old. That's hard to. I'm not sure how much Ty
yeah.
Lawson's hooping. The real
Dude,
question is like,
we're in our like our low 30s, and it's difficult to recover after just playing pickup,
and
you
this
know?
is the greatest moment for that kid's career. Nesco, good for
Totally.
him. He won,
Which
did
is
the job,
impressive still. I'm not gonna, let's
did
not
the
minimize
business,
that. It's
and
still
it's
impressive.
just. But then there's the associated issue with it was like the fouling, and people were upset with the Isaiah
Yeah.
Briscoe Nas game, and people were upset with how the refs were calling stuff. And that's the fine line you walk when you make too much of a show and not as much organization, right? It's great for clips, horrible for the actual game.
Yeah,
And there's a very
terrible.
fine line with decentralized content where you can gravitate towards clip farming and it breaks it all down, right? It just ruins the entire decentralization because now you're just doing stuff to aggregate clips and the user doesn't get to be a part of it. So the big issue I have with the one-on-one scene, which is where like certain tournaments can come into play that make it different, is that you, the listener, can't be a part of it, right? You can't be a part of it. It's not true decentralized
Hmm.
one-on-one basketball. Like you, Brendon, cannot be a part of it. You cannot play in that game. You're not allowed to. Versus like a tournament, you are allowed to. Versus a softball tournament, you're allowed to. Versus anything else that is truly like you come and play and you earn your stripes, it's still kind of backstopped by people who already have a base. And I don't think that is sustainable because you eventually run out of people.
Yeah.
Versus like it draws people in if you can be a part of it. Like the TBT is kind of a fun thing from that standpoint because it's always like, oh, who's playing this year? Like anyone can be a part of it. Is Jimmer Fredette going to play again or whatever it might be? And that's backstopped by like the mystery of it versus like, okay, now it's this song and dance and that song and dance again. That's my
Well,
2 cents on it.
I wonder kind of as we see this evolution, especially in the one-on-one world, I think you can kind of meld together your tournament idea with a one-on-one format.
Yeah, like why not have
That's something where you can involve
rankings?
everybody. Right. You can like bring in 70 guys that just want to go one-on-one, build a tournament bracket, see who the last man
Like,
standing
why
is,
is there
whatever.
such lack of continuity and structure? Because even if it fails, like somewhat locally in terms of the structure, it will all get sifted out at the top. Like, there's no way the best player doesn't make it. Like, a guy who maybe was like, let's say we do an entire nationwide tournament. This is hilarious. Think about just a nationwide tournament. And you go and play some at your local rec. The guy who loses in the first 3 rounds out of 9 or 20 isn't the guy who's going to win the 20th. It's just not going to, it might be the guy who lost in the third round, could have made it to the fifth round, but he wasn't going to make it to the top.
Right. Right.
Right. And so, like, you'll have some standard error in terms of just like, oh, it wasn't ref appropriately, or something wasn't done right, or this guy should have had more marks in the positive direction for him. But it's going to be really hard to miss the guys who should have been there, especially if it's really tightly ran at the top. And so I always think about this in terms of like, remember you ever play like we played at the Florida Disney tournament and we had to do like qualifying AAU tournaments. You had to place and certain tournaments because we weren't sponsored by a shoe company to show that we were good enough. So we had to play in like
Right.
lame tournaments like in Reno or something like that to get there. We were never going to win the Florida National AAU tournament. But there was at least some continuity to get a qualifying position in so you can go and play. And the reality is, were those local tournaments like fully vetted to make sure the direct oversight was like perfect? Probably not.
No.
But they're not like concerned because that team coming from there isn't gonna like somehow would have been the team that won it all, but just didn't get a chance to do it. You got the right teams who were going to win it all in. Like Austin Rivers was going to be at the tournament and play. Our
Yeah.
team, we might have finished, I don't know, out of 120 teams and finished like 40th or something. Cool. Could another team had finished 40th that maybe lost to a team that had a better qualifying tournament? They just didn't get in. Sure, but they weren't going to win the whole thing. And that's what I mean by that. Like, you're going to have some standard error if you nationalize the whole thing, but you're going to have the best actually play. And so you could have these tournaments throughout the US that are like qualifying tournaments or like you earn points or rankings if you win these tournaments. And then you can qualify for the national you know, two national tournaments, the qualifying ones, whatever it might be, to go play.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of like, I think breaking it. I'm assuming golf kind of does the same for like amateur tournaments and stuff
Yeah.
like
I
track
mean,
even as
you gotta
well.
qualify, you gotta get your Q schooling, go through the Corn Ferry Tour, whatever. Basically prove you're at least good enough to hang with the pros. But for this kind of national basketball tournament idea, yeah, it's it almost kind of be like AAU for adults and
Yeah, why
amateurs.
not? Like,
Why
and then you
not
get to
to your
enjoy it, you
yeah,
get to play, you have like the pipe dream of something more, and you get on the big stage and you go and compete, and it's, people paying to play, so it's like the operational costs are what they are. I just think there's a huge platform there. Not to rant on about it because I wanted to talk about that for a second because I see the success in the next chapter, and I see how they do these tours. The next chapter specifically because they go to states and they'll get random people there. I just find it like, wow, that's grown up so big. There's nothing below that to kind of feed into it. They are
hmm
almost by default, because they're not branching out more, hurting what they could be doing. Like they've grown large enough, they can now put things underneath them that I think people would show up for, like a local next chapter tournament to say, oh, maybe
totally,
I can get a chance to compete at that level.
totally. I mean, it's
Yeah,
similar to what I think and one was doing.
I
You
say,
know,
and one kind of did that.
they never really got to build it out, but I remember they used to have their street ball clinics that would come to local towns. Like we had the one that came
Yeah.
to Palo Alto High School, and they did a whole little like street ball clinic, basically just a fun basketball camp for kids. Learn on fun little handles, different drills. It wasn't all just jump stop, pivot. It was like, okay, let's go tween. Oh, throw it between my legs, whatever, have fun. And then they had a whole street ball game at the high school that
Well, they
night.
also, I remember they would have games be played that anyone go play, and
Yeah,
it'd be like 10 or 15 games going on, and they would recruit players from those
from
games to
those
play
games.
the and one
Totally.
team the next day.
Yeah.
Like, and that's so important to me because that gives the city something to compete against and then support, right? So
Yeah.
you all compete against this person, the people, to try and show your name, and then you go and support them as they try and make the team. So it draws a really nice connection to the community.
Yeah, and then kind of regionalizes the competition, which makes it that much more fun. I think that's
Yeah.
why something like college sports is so just enthusiastic and passionate because you're kind of representing your entire region. So, maybe there's an opportunity there in Iowa's most famous basketball tournament.
Who knows? Kind of exciting. Kind of cool.
You should be. You should be. Real quick, as we're kind of moving through this, do you want to give a quick plug to your tournament as well?
Uh, November 29th and 30th, Iowa's most famous basketball tournament. I think we should be. Oh, we're looking at. I'd love to get 16 to 20 teams. That's the goal. We could get more. I never know who's going to sign up late. We had an early bird to sign up, so they sign up, and then the last registration date is the 18th. So everyone just waits till the very end and sign up then.
Well,
We'll
so how
find
many
out there.
spots do we have open currently?
It's as many as you want. Anyone can show
There
up.
we
We
go.
truly made it that way. There's no limit. But I think just based on communications with people, I think there's like 5 to 8 teams remaining out there. You never know. At least 3 to 8 that could still sign up. And I haven't signed mine up yet, so I guess we have another one there too.
Yeah, tournament
Oops.
directors should probably get their team in there.
I wait to the very end in case people like wanted to play or they need a spot or something like that. So I look at a holding
That's
team.
fair. That's
Um,
fair.
so we're excited about it.
Coached by Iowa's own Kate Martin. That's
The legend
exciting.
herself, straight cash, homie. Pickup basketball is not real basketball. And this has started more beef than I could ever imagine on my social media page. And people don't understand what I'm trying to say. I'm talking about literally the game of basketball itself. So when you go watch a third grader play, an eighth grader play, a high schooler play, a college person play, a pro play, there is a structure within basketball that forces a certain type of game to take form. People run back on defense. People will play help side. The threat of being subbed out and not playing again is a real threat. And I made the statement that my D3 team would beat any pickup basketball team that's not like at Rico Hines, because people love to be like, my team plays pickup and we're Division 1 and we'd beat you. Yeah, because you're a Division 1 basketball team. Stop it. Like I'm talking about a pickup basketball team at LA Fitness would win simply due to the fact that the game itself, and okay, I said is different. It's not real. Like if maybe you had your 5 guys or 7 guys, you all got in shape and you ran some structure, you would win. But you might have better individual talent But the fact you never played in a competitive setting with those guys where you got to play 40 minutes of, I don't know, some form of educated and effortful defense, the structure of the game in itself is very different. So pickup basketball isn't real basketball if we assume real basketball is the competitive basketball that pays money. Right under that is the framework I'm working from. Pickup basketball is not real. And it's just highlighted by the fact that in pickup basketball, no one will run a play at any point in time. And you'll say, yeah, but my guys I play with, we pass the ball well. You're not running a play. You're not scouted. You don't have a coach yelling at you. You don't have the threat of a new recruit taking your spot. That's just what
So
it is.
yeah, you are hitting a lot of the elements that are different between pickup hoops and what we'll call real basketball. But
I'm
I
worked
think
up. 1 second. No, because this
no,
just hit
next
me because
back.
I'm worked up because I had this conversation with someone else on Instagram, and they're like, "Oh, I played pickup basketball against a pro, and I scored on him. He's not like pros aren't that nice." You don't realize when you're playing pickup basketball, LA Fitness, and you play the best player you can imagine. I don't know, pick your favorite NBA player. He's not trying. Like, I don't know how many times I need to tell you this. Professional basketball players, when they play pickup basketball in a pickup setting, are not going to try. Now, they might try at times, but they're not the whole time trying. And
Or
I don't
they're
even.
working on something very specific. Sorry to cut you off there, but like Quinn Cook, he went semi-viral a few
Oh,
months
yeah.
ago because he was just playing in a random LA Fitness run, and this guy who's guarding him going full out, giving him everything he has. And Quinn Cook is literally just working on the same move every time down the floor. He's getting the ball, he's dribbling him left, spinning, putting him on his back, cutting him off, trying to get a lay. That was like he did that move probably 8 times in a row. And the guy's coming down trying to give Quinn every single work he has in his bag. And he scored a couple times, stopped Quinn a couple times, and the comments were just, as you can imagine, the most delusional things you've ever seen. Like,
Well,
wow,
because
Quinn really isn't that nice. He's this, he's that. It's like, guys, if you're watching, like he's working on one specific thing, and he's going maybe 50%, like
well, he just
maybe.
like, what's the point of him guarding you too? You know
No,
what I mean? Like,
exactly,
well, you're
exactly.
not gonna score. So like, why would you invite someone like that back? Right? I played in a pickup run. I got a call. Someone didn't show up. It was for Jeremy Lin. And I get called, and Joe calls me and goes, "Hey, we need one more." I was asleep on the couch. And he goes, "You want to come play?" And I was like, "Play a bunch of pros?" Sure, absolutely. I go to the game. Is at the legendary whatever gym that is for the name of it, the Pinewood Second Gym. And we're
Hmm.
playing. And I remember my whole job, I told myself, I'm just gonna run to the corner and then I'm gonna run back and just guard whoever is like the worst player on the other team, and they're gonna know not to pick on me because there's no benefit. Like they're not gonna run an action that gets me to switch onto their, I don't know, 7-1 big who's going to dunk on me. Like there's no benefit to anybody. And so why, if you're the weakest link, would they do that to you? At the same notion, like if I catch the ball, the guy is guarding the other people might be guarding. The guy guarding me isn't going to just rip it from me because there's like no benefit for him to do that. No one's going to get any better. And so I remember being there like, wow, I played with them. And then being at the same time being like, I appreciate them letting me play with they could have just
Being
taken.
grateful.
And this guy was just running his mouth to me, talking about how he would beat all. I remember, and he's talking all this crazy, and I'm not going to mention where it was at because I don't, maybe the guy's not. Anyone who talks crazy to me online in direct messages, I assume maybe that's other things that are upset. But I played at the same place this guy would play at, and I would literally play in these games left-handed at times. And people are like, Max, that's like like, why would you do that? It's a douche move. No, like you don't understand. I could try really hard. I could play lefty, and it'd be fun because playing right-handed against a guy who didn't start for his high school team just didn't do any good for anybody. In the same way that if I were to go play with Jeremy and he would ISO me, other team would just win every single time. And I would feel so pointless out there. So when you play a pro in basketball, they're normally not like trying to win the game at the highest cost. And this is what makes basketball players delusional, is that You can score at any point in time on any professional athlete because it is near impossible to block every shot. It just is. Because you score on them in a one-on-one setting does not mean you're anywhere near them.
Or
Like I
even
could,
in an open gym setting, even in that type of 5-on-5 setting, it,
and
it
and
does it
so
doesn't mean much.
but the delusional basketball player is what makes basketball exist, because the delusional basketball player is what watches these one-on-one games and thinks they could be in it. The delusional basketball player is someone like myself who still thinks they can play, someone who might show up to my tournament and try and win. It is the delusional basketball player that is the backbone of basketball. And that is the greatest thing about basketball that I don't think any other sport has. You have like the former offensive lineman or high school guy who's like, I could have been so and so. But they're really not delusional enough to be professional. They're always delusional they could have played D1. Like, they're not like, I could have been in the NFL. They're always kind of like, I could have played D1.
Yeah.
Baseball doesn't really have any delusional people because I think you just strike out enough. You're like, dude,
Can't hit
know,
that
man.
stuff, dude. There's no way.
And neither golf, because it's kind of like, dude,
Well,
I don't know.
golf's full of delusional players,
True,
for
but
sure,
it's easy to vet though,
for
right? Because
sure.
like unless you're lying, like it's just the numbers are the
No,
numbers.
I mean even guys that are like scratch, maybe plus one or two handicap, those a lot of those guys will think they could play with the pros. A lot
Well,
of those guys will think.
maybe that's why decentralized golf is working,
I
right? You
think
don't see.
so. I think so. I think that's it. They're able to be connected now to the professional game in a way they weren't before. And of course, if they do play some professionals, they get put in their place. But um, no, it's real. I think the delusion of all these athletes is very real, and basketball players share a very unique delusion. I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe you have a take on this, but it's interesting how much ego is involved in basketball. So when you're telling people that pickup basketball is not real, a lot of these guys who have not played organized basketball have no idea what it's like to have a coach behind them ready to pull them at any moment and having to fit into a certain role. And then, the shots you take when you're out at an open gym that feel so easy and fluid, not so easy and fluid when you're playing in a structured setting with a coach who has a guy ready to take you out if you miss that shot. And then each shot carries a certain weight of importance. And that's, I think, the element that a lot of these pickup hoopers don't understand. They think they
So
can go out, go tween, cross, step back, shoot that shot. If you're playing in a legitimate, organized setting, you don't get to even go tween, step back unless you're one of the top scorers on your team. You don't
some
even get to make the move, let
someone
alone put the shot up.
gave me a message and they said anyone can pick up a basketball, not anyone can pick up basketball. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
that's
wow.
pretty,
Profound.
pretty good take right
That
there.
is
And he was like,
that
that's the
makes you
biggest
think.
issue is like, you can't just pick up a golf club and hit a ball. Like, you're not going to hit it straight. And you're not going to pick up a bat and hit a ball unless someone's pitching it to you. But anyone can go and score 100 points in an empty gym. And that's the beauty of basketball and also the delusion of basketball. And like, there's someone who I played in a men's league and he posted a video and they beat us. And it's just like, we have like five guys and we don't really try very hard to say the least. It's just a hodgepodge. And we lost, right? It's just like, and honestly, don't really care that much. And he's like frying Iowa's most famous dad. He posted clips of getting buckets. And I'm like, well, yeah, maybe. Like, I had 33 against you guys still, I suppose. But like, that's a loose term. Now, like, come play me one on one. Like, just I'll bring the cameras. Like, and I love the idea that someone is playing to beat me. Like, and like I somehow this lowly character have some sort of dragon you can slay that
Yeah.
you take a crown from me. And there's not many other sports that have people that aren't professionals that you can go and try and take a crown from, right? And that's like the MK thing. That's like the one-on-one thing where basketball allows for any beef to exist and you to take that from them at any time. And that's what makes basketball delusional, is that because when you beat someone, you almost feel like you rank up, you level up. It allows people in their own world to, like, I don't know, if you're playing an RPG like World of Warcraft, you yourself are like leveling up as a hoop. And you're like, nah, like I'm too good for these guys. And you get these like great delusional characters that have all these XP points that no one else respects. Yeah,
To
they
get
have
nerdy,
yeah,
the
they have
kids stuck in
accrued
bronze who
they
want to
have
be in
accrued
platinum, but they can't carry their team to platinum, so
they've
they blame
accrued all
everybody else.
themselves, right? They're like, these are my XP points. Like, and you see the shenanigans that take place with it. And that's where you get a lot of pro guys who don't want to play anymore with people like that because it's just like all this crazy talk. And you're like, but the other side of it, there is a what have you done for me lately part of it too. Because you have the horrible hooper who was good 7 years ago who will lose and they're out of shape and they'll be like, yeah, but I play D1. I'm like, yeah, but you're not any good now. Like, you just got ran. Yeah, but I played against Aaron Gordon. Yeah, when you were 14. Like, congratulations. Yeah, but like they just give you the laundry list. Like, I love it when they lose or they're losing. They're like, yeah, this isn't how it was. Like when I was at Auburn, we pick up full denial and be like there. And it's always so like he was a great one when I made the post. It's always the guy who plays with the guys who speak for the guys. So it's like, come to my run. We got pros and D1 hoopers.
Hmm.
Did you play pro D1? No. Oh, funny that none of your guys are are the ones talking to me. It's always the guy who runs with the guys. Like, yeah, man, we got dogs here. Okay, are you one of them? I play
It's
with him.
like
Do they let you play? Like, do they consider you a dog?
it's like the low kind of lower tier SEC teams glomming on to Alabama. Sorry, I had to throw in some SEC hate in there.
SEC crazy, but you get the idea. Like, it's really interesting. Like, the number of guys who will speak are the guys who are speaking for the guys they play with, and they're not the guy themselves. That's the great delusional hooper.
I was gonna
The
say,
best,
there's the delusion.
my favorite delusional hooper is the guy who speaks for his guys when he's not one of those guys. He is, hey man, we got pros, we got D1 hoopers in my runs. Come to my city, we'll run you up the gym, and you Google his name and you say basketball next to it to find this guy's stats, and you realize he hasn't played since high school. So he's not one of the guys. He's the guy who associates himself with one of the guys he plays with. So therefore, by transitive property, he thinks he's a pro and he's a D1
Yeah,
hooper, but he ain't. And that is
he's a
what
peripheral guy.
makes the great, 7 degrees. Was it 3 degrees or 7 degrees of Kevin
Separation.
Bacon, whatever it is? Like, that's exactly what it is. You are the 7 degrees of separation of basketball, my friend. Like, you are the backbone that makes basketball go.
Yeah, it is, and it's funny because I think it's almost like 1 degree of separation for basketball because every guy that's played has said I've played against this NBA guy and I did this against that guy, and you hold on to that. Why wouldn't you? It's a way to legitimize
I
yourself
love
in your own
delusional
head.
basketball players too. I
Yeah,
love
it's
it
a part of
because
it.
it makes
It's a part of
basketball
it.
fun. The competition, the great thing about basketball is there's a lot of smoke between the lines, and most people, I think 85% to 90% of basketball players, who even are delusional, or at the end of the day, kind of do realize it's a game. Mostly, there's like some 10% that'll just try and throw hands for some reason. Like,
Well,
there's no greater
kind of
offense in
think
basketball.
I think that's what we're seeing with the current one-on-one craze. Like it's legitimately just brawling. Like it's
That's
just straight fouling. Like we're not even seeing hoops. We're not seeing anything. Like it's not even like your takes about like how one-on-one isn't real ball because there's no help side. You can dance with the ball. We're not even getting that. We're just getting people trying to shove each
because
other down.
they
It's
allow it, right? It's
oh,
allowed.
it's crazy.
The reality of a one-on-one game with pros is you can't play make it take it. You can't, because make it take it overemphasizes stops because everyone's too good offensively. There's a reason why professional basketball doesn't play make it take it, because it would overemphasize the stop, not the point. It is so imperative you get a stop so you can get on a run. If you just alternate possessions or you can't do more than 3 in a row, then you have to emphasize scoring, knowing that possessions are equal, right? If you overemphasize just make it take it, by all costs, you're trying to get the ball back. And by that definition, you're going to play whatever brand of basketball will the lowest common denominator the ref will allow. And it will just slowly merge into a fight.
And it just devolve into a
Right.
fight. Yeah,
But if you
exactly.
play offense and people alternate possessions, like if I'm up 9-2, you know what? Go ahead and shoot your shot, bro. I'm getting the rock back. You know what I mean? Like, you got to
Right.
prove it offensively. Maybe you're not good. But if you have a guy who's overly strong and physical, he will just find whatever line you can walk in terms of defense to get that ball back, and then walk that same line offensively to control the pace and end the game. So then you're like forever, locked into whatever that style of game is. But if you're alternating possessions, you can have two different styles of play against each other without the dominating one controlling how the game is played. And that's how we do with our pros, because otherwise it's not fun.
Yeah. And that's how you run your one-on-one
no
games. No, do you do make a take? Oh, there you go. Well, I guess you got $100 on the line. Well, I don't know.
Nah, when we got pros, I think there's less and skills training, we play one-on-one. We do alternate, or you go 2 or 3 in a row, because it's just like, I don't know, dude. Some guy's gonna if you're a pro and you can make the certain move every time, you're just gonna do that every time. And if you're playing make it take it, it doesn't emphasize exploring other options of cool basketball things.
Yeah, you're just gonna do what you know will get you a bucket every time.
Yeah, or as close to the hoop as you can
to your
stop. Yeah. And then they're going to one spot and you're doing everything and not letting them get to that
you're doing
spot.
everything you can to not let them get there, which then it turns into people just
an
straight up wrestling.
Object versus an unstoppable force.
Yeah. And that's what this one-on-one craze has been. Yeah, I was listening to the 520 pod, and Jeff Teague and those guys were talking about.
Shout out to my guy Archie Goodwin on there. I saw Arch make a post on there, and I commented on it. Play with Arch, great dude in the TBT, phenomenal guy, super nice guy. And I support those guys. I played with really cool people, but let the message him back and forth on that in the comment section. I saw Teague pick it up, and I was like, "That's really cool.
Yeah,
good for you."
Yeah. But I agree with Teague's take on it. It's just not basketball.
It's not basketball, because Archie Goodwin was talking about that too. Basically, like, look, man, like, you don't get to show any the skill. Like, you're not showing the skill. You just
at all
have made this, a blunt object trying to break down a door. Versus like, let's see some craftsmanship. Let's see what a beautiful, woodwork looks like when you are crafting, I don't know, a chair, versus like, this is going down a random path. See if I can bring this home. Like if you're trying to make something that is desirable to enjoy, you want to showcase all the things that people can't do. But if I'm looking at a piece of art, I don't want the largest circle of blue and call that good. I want to see someone use paint to make something I cannot. When we watch basketball like this, it literally looks like third graders.
It's finger painting.
Like fighting each other to get to the rim in a way, like it has no skill of basketball. That these guys
no artistry, like you said. No artistry, no craftsmanship. I like the craftsmanship analogy. That's real.
All right. Well, that's our What's Up Hoops, I think. Is that it? Episode 2 in the books?
Yeah, covered a lot. I think the decentralized topic on amateur sports, super interesting. So excited to hear what people think about that. Could amateur sports actually compete with professional sports leagues? Who knows?
Well, yeah. At some level, right? Can they compete with the G League? Can they compete with the G League?
Yeah, with the G League, certainly. I would say so. I'd say they already kind of are. And then can we clean up this one-on-one stuff and make it a little bit more palatable?
Yeah. Well, I have some other stuff I'll send you for next week. One thing I like about this show is that it makes all the brain rot I engage with more useful.
We're getting use out of the brain rot and the doom scrolling. That's the purpose of What's Up Hoops. But thanks, Max.
Take care, brother.
Appreciate you, dog.
Bye.